The Galactic Council's amphitheater fell silent as the humans stepped into the combat arena. Ambassador Zektar of the Hegemony leaned forward in his crystalline chair, mandibles clicking with anticipation. For 3 standard cycles, the Council had debated humanity's petition for military classification, and for 3 cycles they had been denied. "Behold," Zektar announced, his voice echoing through the chamber's translation matrix, "the species that claims warrior heritage but lacks the basic physiological requirements for combat." The human, who had introduced himself simply as Marcus Chen, Terran Defense Corps, retired, stood motionless in the center of the arena. At barely 2 meters tall and massing less than 100 kilograms, he appeared laughably fragile compared to the Hegemony champion waiting across the sand. Grakthul towered 3 meters high, his chitinous exoskeleton gleaming under the arena lights, 4 arms ending in razor-sharp claws that could slice through starship hull plating. Council members from dozens of species whispered among themselves. The Velkari delegates, with their serpentine necks and acid sac weaponry, hissed in amusement. The rock-skinned Durgan representatives rumbled their equivalent of laughter, their stone-like hides capable of deflecting plasma rounds. Even the peaceful ethereals, beings of pure energy who rarely showed emotion, seemed to shimmer with what could only be described as pity. "The human nervous system operates at merely 300 meters per second, droned the analytical collective's representative, its mechanical voice devoid of inflection. "Inferior to 94.7% of known sentient species. Reaction time, inadequate. Physical durability, insufficient. Natural weaponry, non-existent. Conclusion, humans are evolutionarily unsuited for warfare." Marcus said nothing. He simply removed his jacket, revealing arms marked with old scars and the faded ink of military tattoos. His movements were economical, practiced, the motions of someone who had done this before many times. Ambassador Lycia of the Centauri Federation, humanity's only ally in the Council, rose from her seat. "The human requests permission to demonstrate his species' combat capability," she announced, her blue-scaled features tight with concern. Zektar's compound eyes glittered with malicious glee. "Permission granted. Let this serve as final proof of humanity's unfitness for warrior classification." The arena's force field shimmered to life as Grakthul began his approach, all 4 arms spread wide, claws extended. The Hegemony champion moved with the fluid grace of a perfect predator, each step calculated to maximize intimidation. His species had conquered 17 star systems through sheer physical dominance. Marcus watched him come, weight balanced on the balls of his feet, hands empty at his sides. He appeared completely relaxed, almost bored. Grakthul struck with lightning speed, all 4 arms converging on the human's position. The council members leaned forward, expecting to witness a brief and decisive demonstration of human fragility. Instead, Marcus simply wasn't there. The human had moved, not with superhuman speed, but with something far more dangerous: perfect timing. He had read Grakthul's attack pattern, predicted the convergence point, and stepped aside at precisely the right moment. As the champion's momentum carried him forward, Marcus stepped inside his guard and drove an elbow into the joint where the creature's upper left arm met his torso. The crack echoed through the silent amphitheater. Grakthul roared in pain and confusion, spinning to face his opponent, but Marcus was already moving again. The human fought like water, flowing around attacks, finding the gaps, targeting the joints and weak points that every species possessed, no matter how well armored. "Impossible," whispered the Durgan delegate. The human should have been eviscerated by now. But Marcus Chen hadn't survived 23 years in the Terran Defense Corps through superior reflexes or natural armor. He had survived through intelligence, adaptability, and the uniquely human capacity for violence when it was necessary. While other species had evolved overwhelming physical advantages, humans had evolved something else entirely: the ability to turn any situation, any tool, any environment into a weapon. Grakthul lunged again, this time more cautiously, but Marcus had already identified the champion's behavioral patterns. Hegemony warriors were accustomed to winning through intimidation and brute force. They were not prepared to fight an opponent who treated combat like a puzzle to be solved. The human ducked under a horizontal swipe, grabbed a handful of arena sand, and flung it directly into Grakthul's compound eyes. As the champion clawed at his face, Marcus swept his legs, sending 300 kilograms of apex predator crashing to the ground. In the stunned silence that followed, Marcus placed his foot on Grakthul's throat. Not enough pressure to kill, but enough to make the message clear. Yield, he said quietly. The word, translated into dozens of languages simultaneously, hung in the air like a challenge to every assumption the Council had made about humanity. Ambassador Zektar's mandibles clicked frantically. This proves nothing. One engagement cannot— You're right, Marcus interrupted, stepping back and helping Grakthul to his feet with surprising gentleness. One engagement proves nothing, but I've had 43,000 of them. He turned to face the Council, his expression calm but his eyes holding depths that spoke of battlefields and decisions that had cost him pieces of his soul. You measured us by your standards, he continued. Speed, strength, natural weapons. But you missed what makes us dangerous. We don't just fight, we think about fighting. We study it, refine it, pass it down through generations. We turn it into art. He gestured to Grakthul, who was nursing his injured arm but nodding with what looked remarkably like respect. Every species here evolved to be perfect predators in their environment. We evolved to be perfect at adaptation itself. We don't win wars because we're the strongest or the fastest. We win wars because we never stop learning how to win wars. The silence stretched for long moments before Ambassador Lycia stood. The Council will now vote on humanity's petition for military classification. The vote wasn't even close. As Marcus left the arena, Grakthul approached him. Human, the champion said, would you teach me that sand technique? Marcus smiled, the first expression of warmth he had shown all day. Sure. But first, let me show you how to really use those claws of yours. You're telegraphing your strikes. Behind them, the Galactic Council began the long process of rewriting their assumptions about the small, fragile species from the third planet of an unremarkable yellow star. They had learned, as so many others before them, that humanity's greatest weapon was never their bodies. It was their minds.